Welcome back to this series of videos where I cover off a key feature of your DJing controller. In today's video, we're going to be covering off the play, pause and cue buttons normally found in the bottom left of your device. Let's get straight into it. So the play, pause and cue button are usually always found in the bottom left-hand corner of each deck on your controller. And these controls are one of the most used buttons on your controller. You'll be using these the most. Now, put simply, the play button and the play pause, should I say button, does what it says on the tin. If you press play, the track starts playing. Press pause, the track pauses. And if you press play again, it continues to play from wherever you have left off. It's much like a home hi-fi system. Hopefully that's pretty easy to get your head round. However, the pause function will differ slightly depending on what mode you have your controller set in. Remember, vinyl or CDJ mode that I mentioned in the previous video, and also depending on the controller that you are operating from. When you are in vinyl mode, when you press pause, as soon as you press pause, the playback stops. It's almost as if you press stop on the turntable. However, in CDJ mode on certain controllers, if you were to press pause, the track will actually start stuttering, much like this. Now, I can't demonstrate that on this particular controller because it doesn't do this for some reason. However, this is nothing to worry about. If you're in CDJ mode and you find your controller is doing this, this is absolutely nothing to worry about. It's perfectly normal, and I'll explain why your controller does this in a moment. Now, the second button above the play pause button is called the cue button, and I'm going to explain why this is called cue and not stop in a moment. But if you picture a home hi-fi system, this would be your stop button. Effectively, when you press this button, rather than pausing the track, the play head of the track goes back to the beginning. So if you were to press play, the track would start all over again. And when you load a track into either one of these decks, that is typically what happens here. However, you can alter this depending on where you want the track to start. So to give you an example, I have a track here loaded in, and the playhead will start from the beginning of the track. This is known as the cue point. It's the default cue point of the track. So if I was to press play now, and then press cue like I've just done there, you can see that the track returns to the start. So if I was to press play again, the track would simply start again from where the cue point is located, which is the start of the track. But what's clever about DJing equipment is that you can alter the cue point. So maybe you don't want the track to start from the beginning when you hit play. You want it to start further into the track, for example, the drop or a breakdown or something like this. And this is possible, and this is what is known as setting a cue point. So to do this, what you would do is press play, press pause as to where you would like the track to begin. Now you can adjust this using the jog wheel. So you can hear here how I'm finding the beat that I want the track to start. Press cue, and now the cue point is set. So rather than when you press cue, the track returning to the beginning of that track, it's now always going to jump back to this new cue point that has been set. So you can see from the waveform, it always jumps a few beats in because that's where I've set the cue point. Now, when it comes to setting cue points, you have complete flexibility as to where in the track you would like the cue point to be, essentially. You can start it anywhere. So here's an example. So let's now set the cue point to the first breakdown. You can see from that waveform there. Let's press Q, and the playhead moves to set it on that first breakdown. So when I press play, it now starts, and when I press Q, it always returns to that cue point. And to fine tune where you want the cue point to be, use the jog wheel. So you would press play, press pause, and if you think, oh, I'm not sure if that's where I quite want it, but I want it on the next beat, you can fine tune it and then press Q, and then the cue point is set. Hopefully that makes sense. This is my first time teaching this sort of tutorial. Now, as I mentioned before, if you have certain controllers and you are in CDJ mode, the track will stutter when you hit the pause button rather than just pause completely like on vinyl mode. This is completely normal. And the scenario where you would use this is purely for setting up cue points, because if you pause the track and the track is stuttering, you can actually now move the jog wheel. You can then move the jog wheel while the track is still stuttering to fine tune where you would want your cue point to be set to. And you can slowly start to hear as you move through the track where the kick drum is, and you would want to set the cue point just before that kick drum. So you can use the stutter in a very similar way as what you would do on vinyl search. Some people just find it easier to use the stutter to set their cue points and to be really accurate with it. Hopefully found that useful. 2 buttons that you are going to find absolutely fundamental to your DJ sets. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I really hope that you have found it useful. If you did and you are still watching at this moment, please do me a massive favor and hit the thumbs up button. That helps me to get this video out to more people that are going to find this type of content useful. And stick around for the next episode. I'll see you soon.